Hello everyone and welcome to this week's shed adventure. Well, this is going to be a bit of a close out some of the previous stuff we've been doing and then talk about some of the projects coming up. I had a quick look on the old YouTube site and clearly longbows are everyone's favorite. Over 3,000 hits, or people looking at some of the longbow videos, which is fabulous. Obviously no one's interested in how to shoot a seal, but there we are. No surprise there. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I want to close off. This will be a fairly quick episode. You might be glad to hear. I want to close off some of the projects. People have been asking what's happened to this and what's happened to that. So our last one was our gruesome one about trench fighting weapons, and I introduced you to my version of a 13th century mace cudgel. Not very nice. What I was going to mention and was show you the previous project. People have asked what happened to the chopper. Where's his chopper gone? Well, it's here, pretty much finished. And to be honest, this would have been quite a good one to bring into last week's episode. Another close quarter potential fighting tool. I'm using it to cut kindling. It's absolutely brilliant, and I'll be using it in the next project. So we put a nice ash handle on it. I've shaped it to my hand, oversized to be honest, and we put a little brass wire sort of ferrule. I haven't got access to proper. I'd love to have a proper brass ferrule on there, but brass wires as close as I can get. So we've turned something that most people would throw away into something that actually is, I'll show you in a minute, is absolutely a cracking little tool. So how fab is that? What happened to the longbow? Well, what a saga. The longbow is still here, and I haven't broken it yet, but our problem, and you all know it, is this knot. It couldn't be worse. It couldn't be in a worse place. I've spoken to you about tillering a longbow, how you bend it and you shape it to get it all nice and even. Whatever I do, I'm stuck with the problem that I have a knot completely in the wrong place. And as I've told you before, you get a thing hinging, where instead of you get a nice bow, it comes to here. That obviously doesn't bend, and it bends past there. I can't do it looking at a hinge. However, I'm oiling this with linseed oil, boiled linseed oil. It's just drinking it. So it's, remember, I made this wet. There was no sort of 3 years of drying this in the rafters because I wanted to show you. So I don't want it to dry out too quickly. So whenever I've got 5 minutes, I'm putting it on my hand because the warmth helps, and I'm just rubbing linseed oil into it, and it's gulping the stuff down, which is fabulous because that will soak in, that will replace the moisture, and this will just last forever. So I know this is a C-grade training bow. What it will be good for, if there's any reenactors out there who want an English longbow that they can run around a field with or leave by their tent and have a level of authenticity, a yew longbow, let me know, because you know you're welcome to it. But it's not. You've got to treat it with a bit of care. I'll show you firing arrow at some stage. So that's that. So what are we going to talk about? In our last video, and again, I want to move on from the gruesome stuff, but we spoke about trench fighting weapons, and I said that there were sort of ethnic weapons that people would have because of their culture. The Scots would have their lovely dirk in their sock. The Gurkhas would have their fabulous, you know I love it, their fabulous kukri. And I made a supposition. And I want someone who knows about this to engage with me and see if I'm right. I made a supposition that an Irish regiment, if they were in hand-to-hand combat, I bet you they would have a shillelagh. Now, what is a shillelagh? Well, it's part of Irish culture, in my view. It's a fighting stick, in simple terms, but it's more than that because it is cultural. In the era of around the First World War, I would not think there wouldn't be a man, a gentleman in Ireland without a shillelagh above his fireplace, or he wouldn't go out for a walk in town or walk in the country without his shillelagh walking stick. We'll come on to walking sticks and fighting sticks and cudgels in a minute. A Scotsman wouldn't go out with his kilt without his sporran and without his dirk and his sock. An Irishman wouldn't really go out without his shillelagh. Why was it so important? Well, don't want to get into Irish politics, but it was the English at some stage when they were ruling Ireland said no weapons. Irishmen not allowed to carry a weapon. What you could have, obviously, is a walking stick. So the sort of shillelagh fighting stick fighting club suddenly became a very useful walking stick, and you could walk round down the street perfectly legally, not carrying a weapon, but you had a mean. If you knew how to use it, and the gentleman certainly did, you had a fighting stick that was fearsome. And if you were a really bad person and you were seriously out there, you'd hollow out the end of it and you'd fill it with lead, because we're all coming on to now a more technical discussion about kinetic energy and how you get that kinetic energy into a small area, and by bopping someone on the head with it, you have a proper skull splitter. And the shillelagh, whether it's just normal wood or weighted with lead, was quite awesome. So what's the shillelagh look like? Well, if you imagine this as trying to get the angle right, if you imagine this as a thin sort of inch wide lovely bit of blackthorn, that's what they're made of. That's the only genuine thing. There's no ifs or buts. You need blackthorn for a shillelagh. You have this lovely thin stem here, not my thick as my arm, and you have, I'm trying to kind of get the angle right in my fist, you have this wooden knob on the end, this fist. It's almost like a wooden fist, but it's angled slightly. It's not a knob on the top, it's there, and you've got this club, beautiful piece of wood, blackthorn, black, often left above the fire or even up the chimney to darken it. Black wood, and the end, and you'd leave the bark on, and the end you'd obviously shape, and just where you held it and rubbed it, it would be quite white almost. So you got this dark wood and this beautiful round smooth fist on the end that you could bop. So what are you looking for when you go out? Well, I haven't got a piece of blackthorn, so we're indicative of a shillelagh, indicative of a piece of blackthorn. So please don't come back, the genuine shillelagh makers. I'm just trying to show people on this particular channel the whole idea of this fantastic piece of wood and its importance to Ireland. I mean, if you genuinely want a piece of Ireland, get a genuine blackthorn shillelagh. You can get them, you can order them. There are shillelagh makers out there. Oh, and just so you know, Shillelagh is a village. It originated from the village of Shillelagh. There you go. Just, I didn't make that clear. So what are you after? Well, you're after a tree branch. I find it difficult to visualize this because really it's upside down. You want a branch, a nice thick branch. This is going to be the knobby bit, and then you want your shaft coming off it. So here we have my best attempt at finding, it's too thick. But what I found was this branch growing up. This was the main stem, and this coming off it. So this would be your walking stick. Far too thick, but I can only, as I said, this is indicative, till you get the idea. And you basically cut this about 4 inches above and about 4 inches below. This wants to be about 1 inch thick, rather elegant. Now, I've already got a weapon just by doing this. This is, if I messed around with the weight and just sort of got this off a bit here, I've already got a cudgel of some. Yeah, you wouldn't get up if I smacked you around. If you give me one chance, a knight or a guy, a footpad, or someone in the someone coming out of an alley at you, give me one chance to smack you on the head with this thing. So if you're in the melee, yeah, you've got a weapon already. And there's pictures. There's all, you know. There's I don't think the bio tapestry, but there's all medieval pictures of serfs' arms with a great big cudgel. So, what are we going to do? Well, this will be more a fighting stick and a cudgel than a lovely shillelagh, but again, it's indicative. I'm going to try and show you how you shape this end to get this lovely fist. Now, I've never made a shillelagh. This is why this channel's fab, because we learn together. So I'm going to sort of do some research, and in up and coming videos, this will take some time. I want to try and do this properly. This will end up far too, yeah, this won't be elegant. This will be a cudgel, but it will give you the idea what a shillelagh looks like. So basically we will start trimming this off. This is too big. And then rounding this with saw cuts and a rasp and some knives, and I'll find out what I've got. They left the my understanding is the bark would be left on, so we'll leave the bark on, and we'll try and create an Irish fighting stick, a cudgel, a shillelagh. If you want to see where I'm going, Gangs of New York, that's the classic film. The new Colin Farrell film, can't think what it's called. You'll see men with a whole range. Proper walking sticks, elegant ones, cudgels, this really short ones, bang. Ones with a big head, smaller head, and I'm sure there'll be some in there where they've hollowed this out and poured in molten lead, fishing shot, anything they've got to give it more weight, more kinetic energy. So when you swing it and it connects, you've got a real skull crusher. So that's the next sort of woodworking project we're going to do. The weather's improving out there, so I have mentioned we'll try and get the canoe out, but I do need the water to warm up a bit, and maybe we'll go and have an adventure on the sea, on a lovely river, and that will be fun. We can learn all sorts of things about that, and hopefully this summer we can get out more. Really, State Adventures has been running through a winter period, so we'll see how we get on. So that's it today. Nothing really to write home about. Finishing off a couple of old things just to show you that we're still progressing. A little bit more sanding on this, but I'll get round to it. It's one of those things you enjoy. I have done a bit more flint knapping. It's hard. I'll come back to that. I need to learn a bit more before I can pass any tips on to you, but it's fascinating. And I have met a lady in the village who keeps bees. Now that's another that's another story, but I do fancy understanding bees, because quite frankly, if the bees go, I think as a race, apparently we're finished. So I'm going to do a little bit of research about bees, maybe go on a beekeeping course. That would be fun. Okay, that's all I've got. I'm off sailing this weekend. Might get a few pictures, but I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend. I will film some of this. I won't bore you with every detail of it. You know, you're all clever people. There's woodsmans and all sorts of lovely people out there I see subscribing. And if people's got feedback on or know anything about a shillelagh, and go, look, John, do this, do that, please tell me, and we'll enjoy trying our best to do an indicative version of a shillelagh, and we'll see how it stacks up as another weapon that a gentleman would get. But certainly a piece of Irish, no, it's not folklore, and it's just part of their culture. There we are. All right, fantastic. Bye for now.